Hello, my name's Mad, this is Quirky Seeker, and we're going to talk about the Enneagram again. If you haven't seen my other videos about the Enneagram, I've got one about how I discovered the Enneagram, I've got one about what it means for me to be an Enneagram 4, so you can check those out on my channel. I started getting into the Enneagram in February 2019, it is now May 2019, so it's only been a couple of months. I tend to really dive deep into things when I get into them, and I've gotten really into the Enneagram. I've read a lot of books, I've listened to a lot of podcasts, and I've purchased and listened to a lot of MP3 teachings by my favorite Enneagram teacher, Suzanne Stabile. If you've been around, you know, we love Suzanne Stabile so much. She's my favorite Enneagram teacher, and amongst my friends and family, we call her Grandma. Grandma says that information is not knowledge, and knowledge is not wisdom. Information is recognizing a tomato. Knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing not to put it in a fruit salad. I don't know exactly where I am on that journey, probably somewhere between information and knowledge. I'm hoping to take my knowledge and make it wisdom. So here's a few little tidbits what I've been learning lately. First, we all have so much to learn from each other. I could just read my books and listen to my podcasts and my other audio, and I could just spend a lot of time in my inner world. But that can only take me so far. I believe that the journey that I'm on requires me to invite others in. And honestly, I don't want to because it's uncomfortable and sometimes even painful. But when I do invite others in, the things that I learn and the hopefully growth that I'm experiencing are so much more than they would be otherwise. If you've been studying the Enneagram at all, you might have heard about stances. It's said that 3s, 7s, and 8s are together in the aggressive stance because they're all feeling repressed. 1s, 2s, and 6s are all together in the dependent stance because they're all thinking repressed. And 4s, 5s, and 9s are all together in the withdrawing stance because they are doing repressed. And I don't know if this is a thing everybody does, but I almost feel like I can feel there's a certain energy to each of the stances. And when we get our group together in our home that we have, where we host some of our people, we listen through the Suzanne Stabile Know Your Number workshop, and then we have a conversation. It is marvelous, but I realized we almost have all withdrawing stance numbers in our group. And we've got this one lone 3 who's out here trying to help us all understand what it means for him to be a 3, and the rest of us are like out here in the withdrawing stance like, yeah, whatever, I don't know. I wish we had some more dependent numbers as well. But I just think, what would we do without our token aggressive stance number? What would we do without a difference in perspective to help us see things in a different way and to take us where we might otherwise not have gone? So yes, we all have so much to learn from each other. And another thing that I've heard Suzanne say, and I believe that I know, though I'm struggling to put it into practice. Her teaching is that you don't have to use Enneagram speak to talk with others about what you're learning from the Enneagram. You don't have to go in and say, I'm 4 and I do this and he's a 5 and he does that. You know, you can talk about what you're learning without using jargon, and you can talk to people who don't know the Enneagram and still have a full conversation. That's something I've been struggling with, but it's something that I'm working towards because I do tend to get a little overexcited, and then I'm all like, oh my gosh, who wants to talk to me about the Enneagram? And then most people are like, what is her deal? So instead to say, you know, something I've been learning about myself lately is that I always used to think feeling and thinking were kind of the same thing, but I've realized lately there's a huge difference. Especially when something happens in my life, you know, I really feel it. But sometimes I struggle to think, and especially to think logically. You know, I didn't use any Enneagram, anything there. I'm just talking about an idea, and they don't have to know anything about the Enneagram to be able to talk about the idea with me. A big part of the Enneagram, and I think the whole reason we want to learn our Enneagram number to begin with, is because we put on our personality early on in life to protect our true self to cope and to get along in life. And it serves us well usually as children, but we hit a point in our life where it no longer serves us. We have to shed that personality and live out of our essence. So the work the Enneagram is teaching me to do is called non-judgmental observation. What I and several people I have talked to recently would like to do is to say to themselves, oh, I am like this, and then to observe ourselves doing that, and then to change. But what I'm learning is what it looks more like is, oh, I am like this, and then we observe ourselves do it, and then we observe ourselves do it again, and then we observe ourselves do it again, and then we observe ourselves doing it again. And then over and over and over and over again, I just ask myself, why am I like this? The people who are close to me in my life too, they've heard this like 700 times. Why am I like this? Why am I like this? Why am I like this? Why are we like this? Why am I like this? I think that the change comes from the regular practice of non-judgmental observation, probably paired with other practices that help to create space between the trigger for the habitual response and your actual response, where you can choose in that space to do something different. But in the meantime, I might just get t-shirts made. Why am I like this? Because the work is hard and I often don't want to be like this. I would like to be right and good and not continue to make the same mistakes over and over again. Another thing that I thought was really interesting was the talk between Suzanne Stabile and her daughter Joey about the golden rule. Now Joey is an 8 on the Enneagram, and she grew up learning the golden rule, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. And when she got to be an adult, she realized that that actually wasn't a great thing for her to be trying to do. Because whenever she tried to do for others as she would want others to do for her, she was acting out of her personality, out of her Enneagram number. She was treating others the way that an 8 would want to be treated. And let me tell you what, 9s, 1s, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7s are not interested in being treated that way. They want to be treated the way that somebody of their Enneagram number would want to be treated. So I thought that was so interesting, especially because I feel like I've struggled for most of my life with that concept. Like, why is it sometimes when we're trying so hard to do the right thing and we treat others truly the way that we believe that they want to be treated because it's the way that we want to be treated, it just blows up in our face? It's because I think there's layers of nuance to this teaching. I think that there's wisdom to be learned from seeing the world through others' eyes and to walking with others, learning about things from their perspective. So I've been learning a lot about others. I've been learning a lot about myself. One of the things I said in one of my previous videos that I said because I truly believed that it was true and I thought it was worth sharing is that I am always grieving. Now, I mean this in a real sense, but I think when others hear it, it may be better for me to say I mean this in a poetic sense, but for me, poetry is real. So I'm saying that that's where I live. I spend a lot of time and energy in a grief-like space, and I feel comfortable there, etc. But I'm coming back and bringing it back around again because since then, I've listened to Suzanne Stabile's Enneagram and Grieving teaching, and she tore me a new one. She was like, hey honey, I know that you think that you grieve. I know that you think you're like good at grieving. I know that you're like, hey, finally something that I'm gonna be good at. But let me tell you, melancholy is not grief. Sadness is not grief. You think that you're grieving all the time, but you're not. I don't know what that means yet, but I'm in the position of student. And until I figure this all out, I'm gonna keep diving into what my teachers are saying and trying to explore that with openness and not saying, you don't know me, you don't know what it's like to be a 4. Maybe I'm special, maybe I'm different, maybe I really do grieve all the time. I'm willing to bet that there are better words to describe what it is that I'm experiencing And I'm willing to bet that there's a whole heck of a lot that I don't even know that I don't know. I've been learning so much from the Enneagram. I'm so glad that it is a tool that I have now in my tool belt. I'm so thankful that there are so many amazing teachers out there who are sharing this wisdom, and that I have the time and the energy to dedicate to diving in, and that you guys are here and you are listening to me talk about it on the airwaves. That's so cool. Remember, the world needs you. Your people need you. You matter. You being here matters. Later, haters.